What's up, everybody? Matt and Derek Koenig here. Welcome to the For This Reason podcast. This is our new season, and this is session 1.
Yes.
And we're gonna do a whole season talking about marriage, sex, getting naughty. No, intimacy. We're gonna talk. Well, I mean that is part of it. But we're gonna do a whole season where we're gonna focus on marriage and intimacy and what comes from it. Mm-hmm. And so. A couple things. If you're not already following us, you can follow our church where we're going to share a lot of stuff. Which if you go to TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, it's at Local Church Gathering, and it's not our church, it's God's church. We just get to do a different expression of it, which we're pumped about. You can go to forthisreason.org to learn more about our book. Yes. And hook up on that. And it's kind of neat as we're kicking this back off. Like we listened to a great podcast by the Perrys where they were talking about
I loved that one.
Relationships and intimacy, and it was super cool. And then our friends from over a different church, Eric and Amanda, their latest episode on the Broom Tree, they were talking about some of the struggles you have in relationships. Mm-hmm. And we've both gotten to have some pretty cool conversations with people about stuff.
Absolutely. I think God's equipped us with our past and the experiences that we've brought into this marriage and our marriage, so that way we can speak to those people He's bringing us for whatever reason.
Well, and that's a really good opener to like what we're going to dig into today, because we wrote a book called For This Reason: How to Live in Ephesians 5 Marriage. And when Derek came to me about it and was like, "Hey, I think we should write a book together," I said, about what? Like 10 ways to ruin a marriage? Like we've both been married before. We've both done it wrong before. We've both experienced toxic relationships before, bad decisions in relationships before. So I was like, this is insane.
Technically, we're still considered newlyweds because we're less than 5 years. But at the time, we had been married, a year?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it just seemed like a nuts idea to me when we were talking about it. But then we had this cool idea, which I'll just share, because if you're watching this, you're like, I have no idea what they did.
Unless they've read the book.
That's fair. We looked at the book of Ephesians because it's got some of the most complex things that drive people absolutely nuts in here, starting in verse 21, especially verse 22, is a pretty controversial verse about wives submitting to husbands, and everybody. That's the guy who likes to stop there because the next part puts a little accountability on us. But like when we decided to write the book, we said, okay, let's do this then. We'll break this scripture up into 4 sections,
movements, as you called them,
4 movements.
With a lot of the old school teachings of the Bible.
And we just said I'm gonna write from a husband's perspective, and you write from a wife's perspective on what we think these verses speak into a marriage, and then let's see how one we really are, because maybe we shouldn't be writing a book about marriage if we're not.
And when he says you write it from the husband's, write from the wife, we did not talk about what we were writing. We did not talk about our viewpoints. We trusted that we were coming together with that. We had these conversations.
Before just in marriage.
Way before then. Yeah, exactly. And so we wrote this for the perspective of, I had no idea what he was writing.
And I had no idea what she was writing.
And he wrote the opener and I wrote the conclusion of it.
And when it was done, though, we read each other's stuff before we published it.
Yes.
And there was no editing, though. Nothing got edited out.
No, there was very
just like typos, because I suck at spelling.
But yeah, we did not read until we were done and the book was ready to be compiled and sent off to publishing. We did not read what the other was writing. No. At all.
And we've had some really good feedback from people on it. Like one of our friends that had read it said, "Man, I wish I would have read this at the beginning of my relationship.
Yep.
It probably would have set a different stage."
Exactly.
But one of the things we didn't dig into a lot on there was intimacy, because we were focused on just taking the section of Ephesians 5 and talking about how it applies to marriage.
Absolutely.
And relationships. So in this season, each of these sessions, we're going to dig into little bits of the scripture, but then we're probably going to go off the rails and talk about sex because here's the deal. Intimacy.
Yes.
When I say when I say sex, I'm talking about intimacy as a whole. I don't always mean tab A and slot B for those of you watching. But I mean, the truth is, a lot of the conversations we've had lately with couples, or conversations I've had with guy friends.
Our ministry moments.
Yeah. Which life is ministry, right? Like if you're loving on people, if we're trying to be like Jesus, that's what's up. But a lot of it has revolved around intimacy or lack thereof.
Even our non-married friends who are dating.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and some accountability conversations with like, hey, man, like I'm not speaking from a place of condemnation because like we didn't walk in celibacy before getting married. And we're and I'm not, I don't say that celebratory. Like we recognize like we were not making, we weren't honoring God with our choices before marriage, which a lot of times, you know, like what do they say? Like hindsight's 20/20 on how we should have done stuff. But because of the choices we made, which we'll dig into a lot this season, because of the choices that we made in the past, it leads to a lot of complex issues once you get married.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of exploring and challenges with that. So it's been real cool, the conversations we had, especially, you know what, let's just start out. Let's start this episode, this session by talking about a cool thing that happened today. Right? Because like that was cool. And it spoke into like a relationship, and it was a reminder of the importance of being a good dude in a relationship. We had an opportunity. We went to lunch. But here's the funny part. My wife, Dara, was like, hey, let's go to lunch at this place in Cookeville. And I was like, oh, traffic.
No, I said, where do you want to go? And you...
Yeah. Well, we narrowed it down, which I was like, oh, I don't ever want to pick. So she said Logan's Steakhouse, and I was thinking Longhorn Steakhouse. Like, I wasn't even thinking the right place. And then when she told me which place it was, I was like, man.
You kept saying Logan's.
Yeah, but I was thinking Longhorn.
Okay, but that was the thing.
Sorry.
You kept saying Logan's. You kept saying one place, meaning another.
Yeah.
Long story short, we end up at...
We see a sign for one that we're passing.
Yeah, we end up at the restaurant in a totally different city, but it was that restaurant, not anywhere near our intention.
And then when we walk in, like they're, you know, waitresses, they're like, okay, whose turn is it? Who's next? And so they're talking, and Dara didn't catch this part at first, but the girl that walked up was like, oh, I'll take them. And then the hostess like, is it your turn? And she's like, well, no, and I don't want to skip somebody. So then the hostess asked us, do you guys want to sit at a high top table in the bar? And we were like, no.
I'm short. Okay, high tables.
Yeah, 4'11", it doesn't work. 5 foot, my bad. 5 foot with shoes on. So we were like, no. And so we end up in this young girl section anyway. And for reasons known only to God, like none of it was accidental. She just starts telling us like this horrible day that she's had, and telling us about her boyfriend. She's a mom, 2 kids. She's not married to. They live together. They're their kids together.
Married.
Yeah.
And like essentially, he took money, and now they don't have money to pay rent. He's not working. Yeah,
and hasn't been for months, and doesn't even care, and wants this girl to carry him. He's just kind of being a dick.
Yeah, totally. I mean, he's telling her go apply for benefits instead of going and getting a job.
Instead of him doing manning up.
Yeah, exactly. And so here's where it's just. You could just see that she's broken. She's just hurting.
She's hurting.
But she's still trying to be kind and telling us like how she'll tell people go have a blessed day. And she told someone that like last week, and they yelled at her afterwards saying don't ever say that. And long story short, I got up and gave her a hug because I could tell that she was struggling. Yeah. And I just asked, I was like, can I pray for you? Can I pray for you? And if you know me, I love to pray. Okay, pray. I will pray for everybody and anybody, like all the time. Stephen, I have a TikTok.
And you've been praying, asking God, like, "Hey, give me opportunities to pray for people."
Someone sends me a text, tell me to pray for them. I'll send them the prayer right back. I don't pray a lot in public. And I don't pray a lot for strangers publicly. And so I had been asking God to give me boldness and give me those opportunities. And just the whole time she's talking, I'm just hearing Holy Spirit say, pray for her, pray for her.
So cool.
Pray for her. And I'm like, okay, I am. He's like, no, pray for her. Like, do this. And so we do. And she starts crying. And so I start crying.
Getting all blinky.
The point is, the rest of the time, she was so smiling. There was
see the joy on this girl's face.
There was just this shift, for the rest of the time we were there, she was just genuinely smiling.
Yeah.
And
gets me a little blink. I'm not gonna lie, I cry easily now. Come on.
But it was a wonderful opportunity, and I used it to remind her of who God says she is, and to not listen to what this boy. I don't want to use the term man.
He's not a man, because a man doesn't matter like that.
What this male is saying to her. And how he's making her feel, because no woman should ever deal with that from the person that they're supposed to be doing life with and trusting.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, listen, if the dude was like, if he was putting in effort but couldn't get a job, I'm sure how she felt about it would be different either if he was trying. But when a guy sits back, does nothing, tells his girl, you go, hey, like, go be my sugar mama and take care of me. We got 2 kids at home.
The B word was the nice thing he calls her.
No, she said he doesn't call her that, but he called her a bad mom, like on
The
Mother's Day.
things that she says
She
are
said,
worse than.
yeah, are worse than, but he doesn't like.
That's true.
He uses sentences and phrases like, man, like to demean her and make her feel bad about herself. So why would someone do that? Oh, so that you don't leave them because you feel like you're not good enough for anyone else. We know people like that, and it was so sad. You're in a situation like that before.
My previous marriage was similar.
Yeah, somebody who like they want to mistreat you, verbally hold you down, make you feel like crap. So it was just it was crazy because knowing today we were rebooting the podcast. It was like, what a good day to talk about relationships done right.
Yes.
And done right doesn't mean we have a really freaking good thing going with our marriage, but like we have moments of imperfection where we have to come back and talk it out later and figure it out. Like we don't yell, we don't raise our voice, we don't scream at each other, we don't call each other names, which that's just not our jam.
Not now. There's been times where I've yelled at you. If anything,
I've never yelled at you.
You have not. You have not. But raising my voice was something I used to do quite frequently.
Not with me. Maybe like you raised your voice like maybe twice in the first 6 months of our marriage, and I was like, we don't talk to each other that way, and I won't engage with you if you do that. And you were like, yeah, sorry, I shouldn't have done that. And then we just didn't anymore. But like I would say because of the some of the bad decisions we made in the past relationally kind of helped us know what we didn't want to run into with each other. So it led us to talking a lot more. But I think it was really cool when we started digging into Ephesians for this book to go, like, what does it really say about how we're supposed to be toward one another? And this is a fun time to kick the first episode off with probably the most controversial section of Ephesians. Like let's get into it because this will stir it up. Ladies, get ready. Don't please. Comment, leave your comments, but don't try not to throw too much shade because next week you're gonna see. No, you know what? We're even gonna dip in a little to the next part because I don't want people to lose their dang minds.
We'll see.
Okay, so if you got a Bible, you can open up to Ephesians, but I'm just going to read Ephesians chapter 5, verses 21 through 24. We'll start there and then pause. And I'm reading from the NLT. So it says this. It just the little headers, by the way, if you read your Bible, the little headers above it weren't in like the original manuscripts. But the NLT says spirit-guided relationships, wives and husbands. So if you read the New Living Translation, that'd be the part.
By the way, of course the headers weren't there. These were letters.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's true.
Okay, they weren't even.
You don't write section headers like, and part 3 of my letter, yes. Timothy. Okay. So this letter to the Ephesians, Paul writes this, and further, then I guess we got to back it up. Verse 20 says, and give thanks for everything to God the Father in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. Now he shifts into husband-wife conversation in the letter, and he says, and further, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. For wives, this means submit to your husbands as to the Lord. Don't freak out yet. A husband's the head of his wife, and Christ is the head of the church. He's the Savior of his body, the church. As the church submits to Christ, so you wives should submit to your husbands in everything. Ooh, yes. Get the fire burning. Let's just start there though. Like, He starts this off by saying further, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. What is that for you? Like that part, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. What's it mean to you right now today, sitting here on the little couch in the office doing our podcast? It
means that my love for you, the way our marriage is built, our relationship is built, the dynamic within it, just the interaction between it, everything is a reflection of my love for Christ. Everything.
I like that. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, when I look at it, and I'm kind of a word nerd, but when I look at the word submit, which I've talked about this a lot with people, like my first thought is like from when I did martial arts stuff, judo, jiu-jitsu, like, man, to get somebody to submit to you, the mindset is always, I've got to do something to force it, right? Like, I got to have them in an arm lock or a heel hook or a leg lock, something that makes them be in so much pain they would rather submit to me than have me break their leg off.
And I think that is a very
common thought with the word submission.
It's a very worldly definition.
Or flip the script, like here's what we're going to like, or 50 Shades of Grey.
Again.
Like, again, worldly, like when the word submit comes up, it's like either whooping somebody in a fight until they say, I submit, or it's, whips and chains and, as they said in Weird Science, candle wax on the nipples. Like, it's like sexually controlling.
There's in the word submission and in that dynamic, there is a power dynamic.
Yes.
There is what it's talking about. But you know what? But it says out of your reverence for Christ.
And it says something else powerful, though.
Submit to one another.
One another, which
Absolutely.
in the worldly definition, you can't both be submitting.
Most people forget the one another part and just speak for the wife. But even in that instance, okay, because you know what? How you submit to me because of your relation, that's on you.
Yeah.
That is completely on you. And I think there's one of the challenges that a lot of couples forget is how I respond to how God has called me to be a wife. That's on me. Mm-hmm. How you're supposed to be a husband, that is on you. I can pray for you. I can support you. I can love you. But I cannot make you a better husband.
No, but I think one of the cool things in this, and I think you're right, because we quickly want to jump to a wife submitting the next verse. And by we, I mean men who take this out of context. Mm-hmm. Society isn't spending much time here.
True.
But like the worldly views of submission have taken the idea that submission is one-sided. Mm-hmm. It means someone has the power and someone is weak. Mm-hmm. But when I look at like submit to one another, it's interesting because it doesn't take a lot of strength to submit. Like in a fight, if somebody's got me in an arm bar, like it takes giving up power to submit. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. But what it also means is like, I give up on this. Mm-hmm. But Paul...
but hold on. You just said something though. I'm giving up power. Okay. And there's where a lot
But it also means I'm giving up fighting. Like I'm just done. Like I'm tapping out of the situation.
Yes.
And that's where I'm going with this. Like in the worldly context of battle, when you think of submitting, you're tapping out, meaning I'm done. Like we're done engaging with each other, I'm out. Mm-hmm. In the perverse sexual way, it's I'm done resisting what you want to do. Again, do whatever you want to me, mm-hmm. which is also unhealthy. But Paul goes, to me, this takes a lot more strength because he's challenging husbands and wives to go, both of you submit. It's like, mm-hmm. wait, what? How is that? Like from a worldly perspective, you're like, how do you both submit? Like, but it's really like me going, I love, and he says out of reverence for Christ. So I think it's two pieces mm-hmm. from my perspective. It's one, I have to love Christ enough to go, and I have to love God enough to go, whatever Jesus has taught me about how I'm supposed to love, mm-hmm. period, I have to extend that love to you.
Yeah.
And so what that means is I'm willing to not need to win mm-hmm. all the time. I have to be willing to go, I'm not even interested in a fight. Mm-hmm. Like I'm tapping out of anything that makes me go against you.
Where do you see the best example of submission in the Bible?
Jesus.
Where?
When he is praying and crying.
In the Garden of Gethsemane.
Yeah, he's like,
absolutely.
Okay, absolutely. Is there another way to do this? If not, I'm in with your plan. But if we can shift gears and you could take this cup away,
absolutely,
please take it.
Absolutely. And there's where we're called to model him. Now, mind you, everything in the Bible says you're called to model him as we go through this way more than I am. Okay, I am to be a reflection of him, but you are called to just. I feel like there's more pressure on husbands,
which is why we often feel like failures.
But if we can see him submit to God in that manner so much that he was laying his life down. And I love him and I am called to bear his image and I'm called to love like he does. How else am I supposed to love you?
I mean, I agree with that. I feel like there has to be a willingness for a healthy marriage. Mm-hmm. So people always talk about like marriage is 50-50, which to me is like, I used to go, oh, well, yeah, because 50 plus 50 equals 100%. But the reality is, before someone is married, they have 100% of themselves. Mm-hmm. So you've got 100 plus 100 equals 100. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not 50-50. I have to be willing to, which I don't do perfectly, but I have to be willing to, as a husband, go, I care more about you and your life and your health, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. I have to care about all of that for you more than I care about it for me. So when I think about submission, I think like when two people come together, I think human nature is, and this is why so many relationships have a lot of issues, is we're struggling to retain our, like, I would be struggling to retain my identity instead of looking at scripture and going, two became one.
Yep.
And a new identity is formed. And a lot of people, like my buddy Nate, who used to do comedy in Kalamazoo, he had this joke, and it was hilarious, but it was funny because it was true on how you thought. He goes, every time I see a couple that has a Facebook together, my first question is, who cheated? Because he's like, because the only reason people would do that is because one broke trust. Which I was like, oh, that's probably true. Like back then, I literally thought, I was like, yep. But it's funny because as I got off Facebook and as you're getting off Facebook, and we were like, oh gosh, but we need Marketplace. So we're like, okay, we're going to make a combined one and then not be friends with any of you. But not because not you specifically watching this, but you who isn't watching it. No, but that's the reality. Is like, we think like I've got my identity, and you still do when you get married, but there's often this fight to hold on. So it's like, okay, I'm only going to give half of it away to you, because then I can safely be me. And like I didn't realize that early on until later, and then it's like when I kept going back to like the moment Adam saw Eve, and it's like, and two became one flesh, and for this reason a man will leave, which is where our book title comes from. A man will leave his father and mother. And we were talking about how countercultural that was and still is. Like when someone gets married, the woman leaves. The woman's name, she leaves her name, she leaves her family, she comes to him, back then gets traded for some goats and some cattle and whatever and some money. And the husband, like she would come to him. And from the beginning of it, which is so weird that ever came into play, because from the beginning of the story, it says, no. That intimacy with your wife will be so strong that you as a man would be willing to give up your whole family just for her. And I'm like, when I read this in the context of that, I'm like, whoa, submit to one another means I need to be willing to give up everything and make you, right, on earth, God. But then my wife has to be Dara, I would lay my life down for in any and every way. Comfort, breath, blood in my veins, survival, all of it. Set it aside if it can help your life move forward.
Would you say that submission is giving up of power?
Totally I would.
Absolutely.
Totally.
And so in this context, if you're submitting to someone, you're giving them your power. You can't give what you don't have. So if I feel powerless, if I feel like I have no say, no control, I can't give you all that because it wasn't mine to have in the first place. I can't give you what I don't have.
No, you're scrounging for what you don't have instead.
Exactly. And so it reminds me a lot of we were listening recently with an interview with Stephen Furtick and Donald Miller.
Yeah.
And he talked about when you entrust, you tell them these bits about yourself and they become weapons that at any given time they could use it. Like Matt has so much dirt on me that he could bury me in a sentence. He could make me just be devastated emotionally, physically, mentally.
Such a jerk move.
But you could, and I have it for you.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? My reverence for you, my love for you, my submission to you as my husband means I will never pick up those things and attack you. I trust you with my deepest secrets to love me and protect me and to lead us in the right way.
100%.
And it's not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of my love and my trust for you. But it's also a reflection of my love and my trust and my submission to God.
That's true.
How could I submit to my husband? That is a gift from God.
It's literally what my name means, just so you know.
If I haven't submitted fully to God and his authority in my life.
100%. And the same goes for me. Like, and when you said something that was a really, really good thing, you said, would you agree that submission is giving up power? And my brain immediately went to, it is, but then you go, well, what is power for? Power is so that one can control, right? That's why we look at our government scrapping for power and all over the world, right? Everybody's at war over everything because they want power, right? Because power then leads to everything else. And so to me, when we talk about like, is it a giving up of power? What it really comes back to is being willing to give up control. And by giving up my control, like submitting to one another, by saying, I don't want to be in control of you. What I really want is I just want to love you well, and I want and hope that you will love me back. And that goes back to that 100-100. Like, because I hear people talk about it and they're like, well, if someone is not loving me well, like if they're not loving me the way I want to be loved or need to be loved, how could I possibly? And it's like, so your love hinges on if they do for you. So really, you're not submitting.
That's not unconditional.
Well, listen. The word unconditional. I would argue it's not real. It's not real love. Unconditional love without condition. Because there are conditions. If I cheat on you, you're divorcing me. If you cheat on me, I'm divorcing you. That would be the only case, right? Like, unless you like stab me in my sleep, I'd probably be a little scared to sleep next to you again. But like the truth is, there is always there may be few conditions, but there are conditions. Now, actually, it doesn't, even if something like that happens in a marriage, doesn't mean necessarily the person stops loving them, but they won't be with them. Mm-hmm. But giving up power, giving up the control, it's crazy that Paul says that, because it's, if you read this before marriage, it's a really smart way to go into marriage, to go, hey, going into this marriage, don't go in hoping to be in control of it. Mm-hmm. So this just came to me, which we didn't even write about this in the book. Dang, I love when this happens. So if I'm submitting to you, if I'm giving up control to you, and you're going, I don't want control either, and you're giving up control to me, if I don't have it and you don't have it, who we give it to? Mm-hmm. There you go. Like, okay.
Absolutely.
I'll submit. As a husband, I will submit. I will give up control. I will give up power. I will give up, but it's not just giving, I will give up my desire to have power over the relationship.
And in that, it doesn't make you any less of the leader, because it even says you're the head, like Christ is of the church.
Yeah.
And there's where I say you guys have more pressure than we do.
But I think also people look at that, and how many times have we misheard that? Like a friend that I just like was recently having a great conversation with. We were talking about the importance of marriage and intimacy, and the wives submit to your husbands. And I said, what do you think that means? And my friend said, I think it means as long as it's not unethical or like amoral, like against God, as long as it's not against God, then she should submit to what I want. Like if I say we need to make this decision, she should be on board with it, as long as it's not something that's like unethical or against God. To which, because I'm a loving friend, I called BS. And I'm like, dude, that's broken. That's not in context. I go, did you read the next sentence?
Right.
Because the next sentence, says this: for husbands, this means love your wives just as Christ loved the church. And then Paul just was like, and just in case you're stupid and you don't know what that means, I love it because I do love it, because Paul was obviously extremely smart. He was a Pharisee of Pharisees. But literally, as he's writing to this church in Ephesus, he goes like he writes it in a way it's like, and you can't F this up. Like, I'm going to give you details. And he goes, love your wives as Christ loves the church. Loved the church. He said he gave up his life for her. Mm-hmm. Why did he do it? To make her holy and clean, washed by the cleansing of God's word. He did this to present himself as a glorious church without a spot or wrinkle or any other blemish. Instead, she'd be holy without fault. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as they love their own bodies. For a man who loves his wife actually shows love to himself. Like Paul literally breaks it down and goes, you really want to know how to love your wife? Be willing to die for her.
And there's where that willingness, that commitment to that type of love makes you a man worthy of my submission.
But I wasn't always.
You weren't.
I wasn't when we met.
No.
I wasn't.
That's for why a couple. We didn't get married right away.
And even a couple years in, I wasn't. Like, I wasn't someone worthy of you being willing to trust me. And let's talk about that, because you'd mentioned it earlier. You were like, it means I have to, I choose to give up control and choose to trust you. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about what is trust? What does that mean? Because like my friend at first, who was like, well, it means like if I say something, you go along with it.
No.
But what is, when you think of it, what does it mean?
It means that I trust that your intentions are good. I trust that you have gone to God before you've even come to me. I trust your character, and I trust who you are as a man.
It just made me, when you say intentions are good, that song came in my head like, I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh, Lord, please don't. It did. Just don't let me be misunderstood. I had to finish the verse. It was driving me nuts all day. Okay, but trusting my intentions are good.
But it comes because I've come to know you as a person. I've come to know your character. I've come to know...
Well, you've gotten to see me grow as a man as well.
And there's where I'm like, okay, I can trust you. Trust is earned. Okay, it is freely given, but then keeping it is something that is earned.
There you go. That's powerful. Like, you talked about the Donald Miller, his conversation with Furtick, and like, one of the things that stood out to me that, like, we pause anytime we're listening to that, we pause and we talk for like
Every
hours.
podcast. We just got through one that was an hour long that took us
2 hours almost.
all day.
Yeah, all the way to and from. Man, that's crazy. But to me, like, when you said that, like, it reminded me, like, trust means I'm willing to be vulnerable in a way that would allow you to hurt me.
Absolutely.
And like what you were saying with like, but trusting that you won't pick up the weapons to do so, right? So it's like, the deepest, darkest, most mistakes, the times I've screwed up, the times I've done things that could make you go, well, I don't want to trust you. And me going, I need to trust you enough to tell you these things that I know you could use against me, but I need to believe that you love me enough that you won't.
Absolutely.
And so to me, when we talk about trust, though, there's like, in the context of a husband, wife, and decision making, like to go back to what my friend said, I said to him, I'm like, listen, I don't think I always have stuff figured out. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I often think I'm right, and depending on the day I am, but I don't have everything figured out. And since we're one, I don't think it's my role to just say to you, this is what we're doing. Because God brought us together for a reason. There's a reason people say like 2 heads are better than one, right? Like,
no, God did not bring you He
didn't bring you like without a brain and go, hey, here's a wonderful, beautiful woman for you to like steer around.
Exactly.
But I do know this about us that you've said to me when we've talked about like, okay, so what happens when we don't agree on a decision that we have to make? And then like we've talked about it and you're like, listen, we're going to talk about it. But if ultimately we don't agree, but a decision has to be made, you're like, I'm going to trust you to make the right one. I'm like, whoa, that's a lot of pressure. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, but that's as a husband, that's a pressure that should be my cross to bear. Like but to just go make that decision without you, like, then that's like I talk about all the time in training.
And submission does not mean that I just go with it. Okay. No. How many times I will push back, but I will always push back in a healthy way. And I think sometimes you value that as well, because
not sometimes, all the time.
Iron sharpens iron. I help you look at things in different perspectives, maybe at different angles that you haven't considered, and you do the same for me. So submission, though, ultimately means that I love you and I want what's best for you, and I'm going to I trust you to take care of me with your life. That is ultimately what it means. Yeah. I trust you to take care of me with my life. I trust you that you would have my back and my best interest always at heart.
Yeah, and I trust you to do the same. Like, I trust that, like, if I personally, and we talked about this when we had like a big, long intimacy conversation, like for me, well, for both of us, because we were married before, we've been through bad experiences before. We've had whole entire lives single before. Mm-hmm. So that whole idea of taking a risk and trust, like we talked about when we had been dating for a few years, and we were like, okay, we know we're going to get married. Mm-hmm. And we're like, okay, so now we're officially engaged. And you had said like, well, we could just get married. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, we can't. I can't, because I'm not going to leave. Like, my daughter Jillian was graduating high school. I'm like, I promised I would not move till she graduates high school. You're like, yeah, we just be married and live across the country. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be married and live across the country. I'm not in the military. I'm not shipped off. Like, that's a conscious choice to not be together. But as we recently talked about it, I went, I think the truth is, looking back in hindsight, was I loved you, but I loved me more. because I didn't love you enough to be willing to submit my trust to a point that 3,000 miles away, I wouldn't get a phone call that broke my heart. Mm-hmm. And I didn't trust myself enough not to self-sabotage and screw it up and have to make that phone call to you. And it wasn't even something on my mind back then. It wasn't like I was thinking those things would happen. But I was like, looking back, I'm like, I mean, we're married. I love you. Like, everybody who knows me, like all my guy friends know for sure that I'm like,
wasn't real.
Yeah, oh gosh. Yeah, Tony was like, I don't think she's a real person until you came to visit. But all my male friends know this, and we talk about it all the time. I'm like, if any guy were to like step up and be disrespectful or say something, like, and I make no qualms about it, which once they take away all free speech on the internet, I'm sure they'll come back and then like haunt me for this, but I'll still say it proudly. If any man were to hurt my wife, he would meet Jesus before I did. Mm-hmm. And God wouldn't be happy with the way he got there, nor would he be happy with the process that got him there. But I know, like, I put you before my own breath. But back then, I thought I did. And I think that's one of the challenges with most marriages that I see is when we talk to people and they're like, of course I love my wife. Of course I love my wife. And it's like, really? Well, one of my friends, and I'm not obviously bringing up names but one of my friends, when we had talked before, was like talking about his spouse going to church. And we were having a conversation. He's like, no, I love my wife and I love my kid and all this stuff. And we had the same conversation for a couple weeks, but he wouldn't get, and he's a believer and all this stuff, but he wasn't going to church with her. And I said to him, I go, so you'd lay down your life for your wife? He goes, yeah. I go, don't give me that shit. You won't even get up and go to church with your wife.
Yep.
I go, if you won't wake up for her, you won't die for her. You know what? Ever since, you know what he's been doing? That. But, and he was a good dude, but like sometimes we can't see the forest through the trees. We think, because I know I would lay down my life for my wife. I'm so manly. I'm so good. We think that we would, but then we don't realize, like, but when she asked me to move the laundry over, I won't. Mm-hmm. When she asked me can you unload the dishwasher? I won't. It's like, but you're telling me you would die for her, but you won't put away clean dishes or put dirty ones in.
And they wonder why she doesn't want to submit, because he hasn't shown he would die for her.
Now, in that case, though, like, she still was being a great wife to him regardless. But that was the area where he was dropping the ball.
Let's hold on something, though. So, because we're supposed to submit out of our reverence for Christ. What do we know Christ did for us?
Died.
We know he was willing to die for us.
Yep.
Any woman who knows that her man would lay down his life for her, I can tell you right now, she's not going to hesitate to submit. And submit in a big biblical way. Biblical way. Not in the, oh my God, she's going to do whatever I say. I get to make all the decisions. That's not submission. That is
it's a form of it, but it's not the intended version.
That is the abuse of power.
It can be, however. That's not how our marriage works.
Yes.
And many men do abuse that, 100%. And I think sometimes, too, some women and men give that up because they just go, I don't want to argue about anything. I don't even want to have a deep conversation with my spouse. So I'll just say, whatever you want is fine. And they'll submit to that, even if the other spouse isn't forcing them to. How many, like, there's a reason that jokes are funny. When comedian, like that one thing where this dude goes, do you want to, like, have you ever had a problem with your wife when you go, hey, where do you want to go for dinner? And she goes, I don't know. And like this comedian did this bit. And it was like, here's how you always get this handled. He goes, you say, hey, I made dinner reservations. Guess where? Mm-hmm. And he goes, and then when she guesses, go, oh, you got it, because that's the place she wanted to go. Yeah. And it's like, because my wife can never make a decision, right? Well, sometimes husbands do it too. Mm-hmm. You and I talked about this, like, and it was when which you guys are going to get a little more in depth on, like, intimacy conversation over the next couple episodes in this season. But like when we talked about that, and I was like, I made assumptions on what you wanted. And I was just like, okay, well, then I'm just not going to even, like, whatever, that's fine, which was horrible. And then we rewound time, and I'm like, what I should have done as a husband was go, boop, we need to have a conversation about this because I'm thinking you think this. And if I would have done that 6 months ago, you would have been like, no, that is not at all what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And then it wouldn't have been 6 months of, like, me going, like, and being frustrated about, like, thinking something that wasn't even real. Mm-hmm. But, like, so I think with that, submission, it can be going, you know what, like there are some relationships where people go, look, if it comes to, like, you manage our finances.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to touch that. I trust you in it, but you still will bring stuff up to me and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And I'm like, I trust your judgment on it. If there's something I'm concerned about, I'm like, hey, let's pause on that for a minute. But I trust if you go, we don't need to, we can do, I'm like, okay. But I don't want to touch it because when I managed it for myself, I managed to crash multiple times in my careers because when I manage it, I buy multiple cars and motorcycles and big stupid houses and jungle cats. None of that was smart. Right? So like, I'm like, ooh, I have a wife who loves to do this. Like, thank you, Jesus. Let her do it.
I don't love to do it. But I will do
Who
it.
is willing and capable. But you said something earlier too, and this is going to take us in a good rabbit hole. But you said, what did Jesus do? He died, right? And I said, he died. But then as soon as I said it, I wanted to kick myself because it reminded me of a different conversation we had, and that is this. Jesus lived 33 years and we focus on 3 days. We focus on the death and the resurrection. But you know what it really means? You know what, to me, like, don't get me wrong, his death was horrible and excruciating. But what impresses me more is that he lived 33 years, that he lived for God. He didn't just, his submission wasn't just death. And we often in the church equate Christ's submission with the cross, but we forget about the 33 years of intentional daily choices to submit, being the only human to walk the earth in perfection with all the temptation. So to me, what's more impressive in a marriage, I know you'd be willing to die for me if terrorists showed up at our door and they were like, it's you or him.
Past the dogs.
They wouldn't get past the dogs. But if they were like, it's you or him, then they wouldn't get past me to get to her. But let's just pretend in a fake world that they had, like, it's you or him, you'd be like, take me. I know you would. Just like I would be like, take me, right? Like, I know that part. I don't even question that. But you know what to me impresses me more? That every day you make the choice to walk with me. And like every day you make the choice to be willing to not submit like, okay, husband, what do you want today? Like, not like that, but like every day you choose a life of submission, meaning like 2 are 1. I am not solo. I no longer am a single person making me only choices. So I'm submitting the single me and throwing that away so that I can have the unified us. And to me, to be a good husband, yes, I'm willing to lay my life down for you. And of course, I would fight my way all the way down because I don't want to not be with you. So I would lay my life down for you. But to me, being a husband means laying it down daily. That's, yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what makes you a man worthy of my submission.
Right. Which is so funny to hear because truth be told, I also think this, if you're a good husband, you're striving to always be better than yesterday. And I think, and listen, I don't mean you walk around going, I'm a piece of trash. But here's what I do mean. Daily, if we're doing our best, we're evaluating and going, am I the best husband I could be for her right now? And if I'm being honest, there are some days that I go, no, today I'm not. I've not done the best I could for her. Like poop. But the cool thing is I don't have to wait till tomorrow. I can go, but right now I'm gonna go do something, not say something, but do something to show you matter to me. Like I love you. I value you. You're it. So if I have a day where like I'm overwhelmed with meetings and I'm stressed and I'm just being a moron and you try and come talk to me and I'm like, I can't do it right now. I got to do this crap. And then I'm like, well, it's not her that frustrates. Like, why am I like being short and not just stopping everything to give attention to the person who's most important to me? Duh. Oh crap. Gotta fix it. Like, and then I try and come and be like, hey, let me show you that you matter. But if I realize I did something stupid, it also comes with submitting my pride because it comes with an apology to go, I didn't handle this well with you earlier. And I owe you an apology. And that's an act of submission as well to go, I have to lay down my pride, my me to say you matter more and I shouldn't have dismissed what you were saying.
And that's the submit unto one another part.
Bingo.
So because yes, We're supposed to do it to each other. We're supposed to put each other first. And that's all submission is putting the other person first.
So the title of the next episode is going to be based on the sentence you just said. We're supposed to do it to each other. You're welcome.
I love you.
I love you too. What a great place to bring this episode to an end. Hey, listen, hope you guys enjoyed just hanging out with us in this conversation. This is literally like our friends, Tyler and Ryan, are pastors at different church in Lebanon, Tennessee. And every Sunday as we're driving back and forth, we've got an hour drive each way. And these are the kind of conversations we have with each other. And when we started this podcast a couple years ago, and then we took almost 2 years off, when we started this together, we said, man, these conversations would probably be helpful for other people that have the same stuff they've wrestled with in Scripture or in their relationships. Let's just record them and share them. And so that's our hope with this. So if there's something that maybe you're like, man, we're in our marriage, or maybe you're getting ready to get married, if you're like, dang it, we struggle with some of this stuff, like, feel free to comment and share, like, yeah, but what about this? Or yeah, but what about that? Or like, drop it in the comments and we can talk about it in an episode. If you don't feel like doing that publicly because you're like, yo, I don't want to put this in a comment and then somebody see it and be like, girl, do you know what your husband said? Like, feel free to drop a DM over. It will come to both of us. So if you're a creep, don't do it, bro. But like, drop a DM and say, hey, can you guys wrestle with this? Because this is what me and my wife are going through. This is what me and my husband are going through. Excuse me. Proper grammar. This is what my wife and I are going through, or my husband and I are going through. It drives me nuts. Background, like me, I just shared that the other day. It drives me crazy. Okay. Anyways, if there's stuff that you guys are wrestling with that you think it'd be beneficial for us to wrestle with, disclaimer: we're not marriage counselors.
Nope.
We're not therapists.
Nope.
We're probably real good experts on screwing it up, thanks to a lot of life experience doing it wrong.
So much so we even joked today about writing a book about the 10 ways to script a marriage.
Yes, and then realized we don't want to talk about those people in a book at all. Really, I like to forget them often.
So the things that we've done.
Yeah, I also would like to hide from those, which we won't, though. Not all of them. Yeah, so like, listen, but we've experienced marriage in a very wrong and broken way. Both of us have. And we've experienced what it's like to process through marriage in a healthy way and what it's like to actually enjoy a good marriage. So if we can help you in any way with that, we would love to. If you want to get a copy of the book, you can go to Amazon. You can just go to Amazon, type For This Reason, and type in Matt Ordera. And or you can go to forthisreason.org, and we got a link to it there. But or you can go to the church website and click on resources, and you can get it for free there and just pay for shipping, and we'll send it to you. But I don't know, anything else about this with this kickoff that you want to throw out there before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I just look forward to having more of these conversations.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. Love you. And man, go out there and go make your spouse feel important today.
Fact.
See you next time.